Welcome back to a brand new coffee tech break with Jan. Good to see you back on my channel again. I think I got another great video for you lined up today because I want to take you through public available now version 4.1 for StudioX and G7500. So today I got a really extensive video for you because there's quite some audio and video innovations, new applications, maintenance, etc. So as usual, in the description I will make sure you can go to the different chapters. So if you're not looking for the whole video, you can just skip to those different parts. Of course, I recommend to watch the whole video because there is quite some exciting innovations in the StudioX. But if you don't have the time or you just want to watch pieces, then you can just jump over to the different parts. And also I will put all the references, so release notes, specific features and functions from different platforms. I will put them all in the comments. Just look in those comments fields or in the description, and I will make sure you're able to find it very quickly. Now, what I usually do, I jump in my computer, so I prepped quite a presentation for you, but I'm not only gonna do a presentation, the coffee tech presentation format. What I will also do is I will jump out regularly to just show you some of those features and functions in the web UI, in PolyOS, so you got this whole interactive feeling. Now, if you got any questions or comments, just leave them under the video. Of course, I'll try to answer them as good as possible. It's a free community for everybody to use. And yeah, I would say just let's get started with the presentation and to go through all those exciting new features. All right, here we are. So as I said, I prepped quite a presentation for you to walk it all over. And what I always recommend, of course, get a cup of coffee with you or a cup of tea to make sure you're covered during the presentation. Now, there's quite some innovation, and as I said, this is an extended edition of the 4.1. So I will walk everything through because, as I said, we got new applications, new innovations, new hardware, etc. So get ready, sit back, relax, and let's get started. All right, so the first innovation which I wanted to walk through, there's a brand new family member added to the StudioX family, and that is the Studio X52. So I'm not diving into all the features and functions because I already did an unboxing of it. I will make sure I will put a video link there, so if you need to find it quickly, you can just go there later on, and there you'll find all the details about the cabling, the format, etc. and look and feel. A really great device. It fits in the medium-sized room, so just below the X70, and well, I'm gonna cover you all the details because there is some things which I wanted to mention. So as I said, X52 for your medium-sized room, a very powerful all-in-one speaker bar, because as I said, it's also an all-in-one speaker bar, similar as X30, X50 and X70, so it's got that codec in there, Android, and you can run all the video applications, etc. That is all in the basis exactly the same. But what is new is this guy has a 20 megapixel Ultra HD 4K camera. So you got quite good visibility in the room, especially when using those group tracking features or speaker tracking features. Usually you're quickly going to downgrade in resolutions, and with the 20 megapixel, of course, you got much more resolutions to zoom into specific participants in the room. What they've also done, it's a 95-degree camera. So let's imagine similar thing as we had with the E70. The camera which is already there, the top camera was also a far end camera. So you can imagine we got now similar camera in the X52. So it's going, it's able to go further into the room and get a much more sharper image. So this is all consulted in the market, and not using those 120-degree lenses only limits you to go deeper into the room. So now we decided to get to that 95, which make sure you can get a much more clear picture in the room, and you will see that. So if you got a chance to experience that, the X52 as a demo or a test device, really recommend it. You will see that that sharper image. So it inherits all the features we know from the StudioX, like directory AI with group tracking, speaker tracking to find those participants in the room. Think of noise block AI to filter out unwanted noise in the meeting room. Think of acoustic fence, where it's able to block out maybe a coffee machine on the side, etc. So it inherits all those features in the X52. The mounting is, I think, really easy. This was, I think, a big request because it makes it easy to deploy in the mouse. And here it comes with a clamp. Similar we have with the X30. So you just put this on top of the screen, you just connect all the cabling, etc. And it sits really tight. You can here size it to any type of screen you have. And it just sits tight on top of the screen and you're able to use it. Of course, there's also other mounting options here, which I will show you in a bit, but this makes it very easy, to deploy very quickly. Now, what is good to know is the X52 comes along with the TC10. Which is also now Teams certified, by the way. So I will show you that also a bit later on. The Black Edition, so that's good to know. The Black Edition comes along. If you want to have the White Edition, you need to order probably the X52 separate and order the TC10 separate as the White Edition. Very nice. So the TC10 has a proximity sensor, so when participants walk into the room, it's automatically waking up the system. It also has the LED on the sides, so you know exactly when the mic is muted. Similar as you see on the top of those bars, but you also have it now available on the panel. There's also a quick button, so if you need to jump to device mode or to specific camera settings, you also have this available, which gives you a small light on the right below here. Very nice, the TC10. Now, the I/O of the X52 is similar as we know with the X50. So you got dual screen, you got HDMI input, you got the option for device mode, so you can use the X52 also as a USB speaker bar with any platform you're using on your laptop. Of course, this also requires the HDMI input, but that combined, it gives you the option to use it as a BYOD device in the meeting room. Mix that with Zoom, with Teams, etc. So one of my favorites is a brand new metal faceplate. So think of manufacturing, think of healthcare. There you need to have, in those clean rooms, you need to have a metal faceplate. It's not it's not allowed to have that cloth sort of front plate. You need to have a metal front plate because it needs to be clean. So that is available now, even with microban protection, and so the antibacterial, that is available also as an option with the X52, but also I saw this available for the X30. So I think a really nice one, and I will put the SKUs in the description. It is not only that, it is for those clean rooms, but I think personally it looks also very nice to have a sort of metal faceplate, as you see right here. Now, what is good to know is the X52 is shipped with an initial release of 4.1. So you need to upgrade to the latest build of 4.1, but I will walk that through a bit later on, because you need to get to that latest software so all the features and functions are enabled in the X52. Now, let's look at the mounting options just quickly, because I wanted to go to 4.1, but I think it's good. I always get questions about mounting options, etc. So I just wanted to cover them quickly. So with the X52, we got the default, we got that clamp, so that is coming along in the box. Now, what is available as an option is you have a wall mount, so you can put it on top of the wall, top of the screen, or under the screen. You got here table mount, so that means you can just put it on top of the table if you got a sort of cupboard under the screen. There is a VESA mount. So with the VESA mount, you can also put it on top or you can put it below the screen. Now, if you have an X50 and you want to upgrade that to the X52 to get that better visibility, the better camera image, I think looking at audio, they're almost the same, but especially the camera, you got really the option to go further into the room. So if you want to upgrade to the X52, you have an adapter. So the X50 has a wall adapter or a VESA adapter, and then you can use the same wall mount you have with the X50. You can use that with the X52. So that makes life, I think, a lot easy. How do you mount that? I think, Poly did a really great job there. On the Poly support website, you can find all the options how to mount it. So this is really, really nice. And I see this now with this new product. So looking forward, I think this is gonna be a lot easier for you to find your way in. What do you need? Looking at tools, looking at how to mount it quickly, etc., which is available now on the support videos on the support website. And again, I will put those links in the description field there, so don't worry, you're able to walk that all through later on. All right, next one, the PolyOS platform, just as a basis, because I know there's always during the presentations a lot of questions about what is being upgraded, how is being upgraded from what version to the other version, etc. So I hope I can give you some guidance here. And this is why I created the extended edition today, to give you all the guidance I can give you to get through those different versions. First off, the StudioX. StudioX is packed with features. If you look at this whole list, it's got the AirPlay, Miracast, SCEP, H323, dual screen, touch support, BYOD mode, the tracking features, the AI features, HDMI ingest, everything is in there. But as we know, not all those features are used by the applications. I mean, not maybe at the beginning or later on. We had it, for example, with Teams in the beginning, that the HDMI ingest was not possible to use, but today you can use it. So it's always good to walk that through. So what is allowed by the different applications? Now, we got here the hardware layer. The next layer is the PolyOS layer. That is the Android operating system. So we're keeping that up to date with the latest and greatest security features and making sure that it is compliant with the different application. That one is now Android 10 level, so you are secured for the next couple of years and got the latest security fixes, etc. On top of that operating system, we got the applications. So as I said, just depending on the different applications or what features are being used from the StudioX itself. And usually I walk through a lot of those things, but you can find in the release notes also a lot of those features and functions what the application has been able to use. For example, device mode, but I know device mode is now possible with most of the applications, but it's always good to check that out. And there are tables available to review that. Now let's get started with the upgrade routes, because I know this is always where I get a lot of questions from what version to what version can you upgrade, etc. Now, let's say you found the StudioX or G7500, you found them in the cupboard, still hanging around, running 3.0. You got a red light here, so you cannot upgrade from 3.0 all the way to 4.1. Impossible. Those libraries will be incompatible, chips will not be upgraded inside the device to the right level, and you could get into issues. What you need to do is first upgrade to that 3.2.3. Then you go into one in between, 3.7 or 3.8, and then you can jump to the 3.14.2. So this is your version to jump to that 4.1 release. So now we are at version 3.14.1 or 3.14.2, and that will give you a green light, and so now you can upgrade to that latest version 4.1. Be aware, because some things are happening, and so this is why I always do these type of sessions to make you aware of the things which are happening on the water. So first off, your version will be upgraded to 4.1 on the recovery disk, the factory recovery. So if you do a pin reset or you do reset all in the web UI, this will bring you back to that 4.1. That image has been upgraded if you do that, because also you cannot go back. If you are at Android 10, you cannot just go back to Android 8. You can imagine different operating systems switching back and forth. Yeah, just doesn't give an optimal result at the end. So you need to stay at Android 10. There's no way back. So you're getting to 4.1, one-way route. As I said, there's no way you can go back. Then your StudioX will upgrade to Android 10. And the other thing is, if you go to 4.1, one of those things that are happening is your touch panels, TC8 and TC10, will go to Android 11. So be aware of that. If you're using it, for example, in Teams mode, you gotta make sure that if you got maybe Intune policies based on those Android versions, you gotta make sure that it's 10 or higher. So if you got that fixed 10, you gotta make sure you change that, because otherwise the touch panels will log out or not able to log in again to Teams. Just some things to be aware of. And I know that a lot of people appreciate my channel for all those tips and tricks, and hopefully this gives you some good guidance. I try to build this as good as possible to make it available to everyone. The next option is you are already on 4.0, and so you're already running Android 10 on your devices. You're on 4.0, you're 4.01 or on 4.02, then you are also eligible to upgrade to 4.1. Absolutely, using the web UI or using PolyLens. Of course, that is what I will show you a bit later, but you can use all those methods. But same thing, your image will be upgraded to 4.1. So the factory image is now 4.0 if you upgrade to that version, but that will also be upgraded to 4.1. So any factory reset will bring you back to 4.1. Again, the devices will stay on Android 10, but same here. What we'll do, the 4.1 from 4.0 to 4.1 will upgrade also your TC8 and TC10 to Android 11. And again, there's no way back. There's no way back. This is a one-way route. And so just be aware of that. Android 10 and 11, this is the baseline now for your StudioX and your touch panel devices. All right, looking at downgrades. What is possible? Well, if you are on 4.1, there's no way you can downgrade to 3.x. Again, because you're going to change Android 10 to Android 8. Switching back and forth is not something which is even in the phone world not even supported. That is just really, really nasty, because we're upgrading the chips inside the StudioX and G7500 to be compatible with Android 10. So if you're going to roll back, you cannot just roll back the chips inside the StudioX. So it's going to be really nasty to do that. So 4.1 is your base, and it will give you also a message that a compatible software update is not found. So it will protect you, but just be aware that if it gives that message, that is impossible to go back. Now, one of those things that could happen, maybe with a USB stick or something, is that you upgraded from one of the 3.x versions, but not 3.14.1 or 3.42. You got it to 4.1. That could happen, and then you could get into issues that the device is not working properly. So what I then recommend is just do that reset all using the pin or using that through the web UI. So it will get that factory image, which is on the disk, and run that. But in this scenario, everything will be factory. So you gotta be logging in again with the 6-digit number, unless you're using PolyLens with the DHCP server pointing to PolyLens. Then you could get that. You could get a policy to make sure it's got some default settings there. But just be aware, because here you need to log into your video application again, into Teams or Zoom or any of those other applications. Everything will be factory default. But could happen. So just want to let you know, it's an unsupported scenario. So the only scenario here is to factory reset. Now, what are in the software build for the one? And just to walk it through, because I got that question earlier about specific builds. Well, here below you see all the versions which come along with the 4.1. So as you can see, the touch controller 4.1, you can see the microphone adapter 3.01, table adapter 3.0, the Cube 1.3.1, and the E70 1.8. So just be aware of that. So we got 4.1 for all the devices, and we got 1.8 for the E70, and also for the E70 inside the X70. So that's good to know. You should be able to see that. If it doesn't happen at the first upgrade 4.1, just check if the camera has been upgraded, and otherwise you should be able to do that in the second run. So the 1.8 got some new features which I will show you a bit later, and some maintenance. So I recommend to upgrade to that latest version. To show you the build numbers, because that is the request I also got earlier. So what are the specific build numbers used? So you got a quick sheet there, so you can capture this if you just want to to quickly get an overview of what builds are used on the different devices. These are the 4.1 builds, the public builds, the latest builds which you need to have for your devices to run as optimal as possible. Upgrade and downgrade. Again, this is also one of those questions which are always popping up. What are the options to upgrade? What are the options to downgrade? Well, first off, we got the web UI on StudioX. So you can always access the web UI out of the box. It's the last 6 digits of serial number, or if you're using the auto provisioning through PolyLens, it could be something you've pre-configured in Lens, and then you need to use that password. But you can always access the device this way using that web interface. Here you can go to General Settings, Device Management, and here you should be able to see the version found, as you see right here. Make sure your TC10 is paired to get that also to that latest version. And one thing I always keep reminding is that auto updates. I always recommend to turn it off. Just use, for example, PolyLens, create a group, put some devices in there, test them out. As I said, the touch panels will go to Android 11, so this could have an impact on your Teams environment. So test it out first in 1, 2, 3 locations where you got the possibility to access quickly, and test them if everything is working properly. And then you can roll it out to the rest of your devices. Now, if you got some field engineers going on site or for demonstrations, use a USB stick. And because I've been in that scenario a lot of times, we just come to a customer, you don't have internet access yet, etc. Then a USB stick is very easy. You can always download the software from the Poly support website, put it on the stick, or use a couple of versions because you need to walk through that steps maybe of the versions, and then make sure you can just put them on the stick one by one in the device, and then you can upgrade to those latest version. Very handy, USB upgrade. Well, PolyLens. I think a lot of people found now PolyLens because it gives you the possibility not only to upgrade, but also you can downgrade if needed. But of course you stay within the 4.x range or within the 3.x range, because you cannot, as I said earlier, you cannot switch between them. But it gives you the possibility to do some more testing. And PolyLens is a powerful overview where everything is connected, devices, touch panels, etc. And there's a lot of features and functionality being added over time. And I will show you a bit later some of those newer features and functions. It's just if you got 3, 4, 5 units, I think it already starts to become interesting to use PolyLens, even to change camera settings in some room if needed, or tweak audio settings, etc. Now the other option, if you're fully in Teams, of course you got Teams Admin Center. Here you can push software to the TC8 or TC10 or to the StudioX. Make sure you push it to both of them, as I've seen still a lot of customers just push it out only to StudioX, and that could give compatibility issues. Same Zoom device management, push it out to TC8, TC10 and to StudioX. Just make sure that everything is aligned. Now take some coffee in between, very important. I told you it is quite an extended edition today, and hopefully you enjoy it and it is helpful for your environment. All right, let's run to some of those examples. As I said, this is where I always get a lot of questions. So some upgrade examples. First off, you are on version 3.12. Could be something still in the cupboard, hidden away, but you need a reserve because you got some issues in another room. So you pick it out of the cupboard. Well, the first thing you will notice, it will prompt you for version 3.42. Because you gotta be first to 3.42. That's the version where you can jump to 4.1. Again, so it will automatically prompt you for this. There is already a security built in that you gotta be first go to the 3.41. So that's good. That's good. So 3.42. If you are there, it gives you the green light to go to 4.1. So in the web UI, it will automatically prompt you as soon as you are on the 3.42. It will automatically prompt you that there is a new version found to the 4.1. This is the first example. All right, example 2. So we are on 4.02. Well, this was the latest version before we get 4.1. So 4.02 is completely safe. What you will see is if you are on 4.02, it will automatically prompt you to go to 4.1. Again, just first do a couple of rooms. Test it out, see if everything works before you do the rest of the device. It's just something which I see a lot in the field where just customers maybe upgrade just maybe 20 of them just all in once, but then it could be nasty as Intune is blocking or something else over the network. Just be aware of it. Just do first a couple of them and then check it out if everything is working properly. The next example, example 3. You want to downgrade. Of course, if you are on 4.1 and you run into specific issues and you want to test it out because it was probably something was working in 4.02 or 4.1, you're able to downgrade. So you could select in PolyLens, you can select the previous version and your devices will go back to 4.01 or 4.02. And so that is allowed and it doesn't give any issue. So what you will see is in your StudioX, it will prompt you. It's coming from the provisioning server, as you will see, but it will prompt you to go back to 4.02. All right, one of those tips and tricks. So cannot find any software. There could be at some point that you find on StudioX that it cannot find any software. And that started with the 3.14.2 or the 4.0 or 4.1. That is because the download URL has changed. It's now the svupdate.lens.poly.com. This is a new one. So that has changed. So if you have that pre-configured in your firewall, make sure you update that to the latest URL. And if you don't need to go directly to the software, because firewall is blocking and you need to provide that to the customer, then there is a possibility to do that directly. You need to use then the custom in this drop-down list. You use the custom option, just copy and paste in the URL, and then you can go directly to that software if needed. Next one, new StudioX expansion microphone, which is available. So it could be in some rooms you got a challenge, maybe acoustic challenges, etc. And then if you run into those scenarios, I've seen that customers are able to use an additional mic at the table. I think that is a really nice one. And using that with Studio USB, with the X50, X52 or with the X70. I know there's not every room is the best of the best. So then it really could help acoustic to get an additional mic at the table further in the room. Now there's a brand new one which is also now microband protected. So this is out of factory, so it doesn't go away. This is just completely sealed on the product itself. And microband means if multiple people are touching it, that it doesn't, the antibacterial just protects those devices in the room. As I said, usually it comes along with the 7.6 meter cable, but there is now a new extension kit where you can go up to 30 meters. I think this is a really nice one because in the past, if you go down on the screen, you go over the floor, you go up at the table, yeah, that 7.6 meters is easy gone if you are in those bigger rooms. So now with this new extension kit, I think a really nice one, which is a separate order, and I will put the SKUs right here, but of course I will put them also in the description so you're able to find them quickly. You can go up to 30 meters. You got that dongle on one side and the dongle on the other side. You put cut cable in between, and then you can go up to 30 meters. I think this is a really powerful one because not every room is optimized for audio and video conferencing, and audio is a really critical one, and this brings the mic closer to the speaker in the room. There's also a mute button on here, as you can see, so there's always the user who can just mute also at the table if needed. So this is now also available as a new kit with StudioX and Studio USB. Alright, looking at the software. So what has changed in the 4.1? I think this is going to be a really exciting part. The first one is there is a device mode update. We got some new features in there. So I already did some videos on the device mode. So as you can see right here, so I will put a link right there. You're able to find the basics of device mode and how to use it. It is a very popular feature, and also in combination with Teams and Zoom, etc. Because if you got some tropical video application and you just use the USB cable, use the HDMI cable, or combine that with a dock with one cable to the laptop, and then yeah, you can just use any platform and share the camera, speaker and mic of those devices with your laptop. So it is a very very popular one. Now they made some enhancements in the device mode, and that is that there is now the camera option there. So you can click on that, you're able to jump to the camera settings. But as usual, let me jump out of this meeting and show you quickly how that looks like. All right, let's get to the practical part, and this is what I always like, just to show stuff, demo stuff. This is where I live for. Now let me show you where can you find those camera settings. So you go to general settings, system settings, you go all the way down, and here you will find a new option, show camera control button. So as soon as I enable that, you will have now a button available in device mode. So let me show you that. So just to quickly show you that end user experience, for example, you're on a TC10, so you got a mute and unmute button. We got a volume button, so you can change the volume of your BYOD device. And again, we got now a new button, the camera button. So if we click on that, you're able to jump now to the camera menu. So you can set presets if you want. You can turn the tracking on and off. So you got now some features which are directly accessible, some camera features from the device mode. That was just a quick update on the device mode. And again, don't forget to take a cup of coffee in between. So next one, with the 4.1, coming along is the E70 version 1.8. We got the ability now to connect an E70 over IP. This is a really nice one. You can just do one with these releases. So I've made some notes here, but probably in future releases that will change. So how do you use that? Well, first you connect it over USB to your G7500 or use Lens desktop, so you can also upgrade it to that latest release. That means after you've upgraded, it should become available also over the network. So what you need to do is connect this cable directly to the G7500, to one of those local LAN ports. And that gives you the possibility to use cut to 91 meters. So it's cut 5E, 7 or 6, and you can use those type of cables to connect it between the devices. But be aware, this is only in the Poly and the Zoom mode today. So probably more video providers will support it, but today with this initial release, we have it available now for Poly and for Zoom. And of course the other local LAN ports on your G7500, you can still use them with your IP connected mics or ceiling mics, that is still available. Well, we got some limitations, so poly and zoom, no smart gallery. You got single IP, so you cannot connect multiple E70s today, at least with the 4.1. Mixed IP and USB is not supported, so could work, but it's not supported today. And if you want to change from IP to USB, you need to unpair it. So I will show it how that looks like in the web UI. But if you want to go back from IP to USB, you need to make sure you unpair it. So if you unpair it, it will enable the USB cable again. And just to be aware of that. But I will walk that all through. If there's any issues with switching between those versions or the camera is not working as expected or not discovered, you can always reset. So there's a reset button there, but make sure that after that you probably need to upgrade to that version 1.8 again. But there's always a fail-safe scenario if something is not working as expected. Now, as usual, and this is for me always the best part, is let me show you where you can find those features and functions in the G7500 to connect your E70 over IP. So let me show you what I have here in my lab. So I got here the E70 connected to my G7500, which is right here. And you can see an IP mic, which is waiting to pair. And as you can see, when it's waiting to pair, it's flashing blue. So that is good to know. The E70 is connected now over USB, and I will show you as soon as it is in the IP mode, it will give similar behavior as you will see with the IP mic. It will also show you here on the E70 a blue light flashing, so you always know that it's waiting to pair over the network, but I will show you that. Alright, so here we are in the G7500 web UI. So let me show you where you can find all the accessoires. So you go to device management, you will also find the software version, but also the connected devices, as you see right here. Now the E70 is now paired over USB, as you can see right here, or connected over USB. And also I got a trio here, which is connected over the network. Now, how can we make the E70 now discoverable over IP? That means I need to disconnect the USB cable and connect the Ethernet cable directly to the G7500, and then it should bring the E70 into the IP pairing mode. But it needs to be at that 1.8 version, because otherwise that experience will not happen. So let me show you that. Alright, so what I've done is I've disconnected the USB cable and connected the LAN cable directly from the E70 to the G7500 local LAN ports. Then we'll boot up, and what you will see, if it's running 1.8, you can see it's flashing now. Similar as the IP mic, it's waiting now to pair. So it's a really nice experience. I don't know if the color is exactly visible on the video, but it's flashing blue now here on that side. So that should open it up to be visible over the network. So let me show you that. So here we are back in the UI of the G7500, and here you go. You have it available now as a device to pair it over the network. So let me do that. Pair it up. All right. So what will happen is the E70 will reboot now, and it will officially change it now to that IP mode. And so just let's wait for a bit. All right. And as you can see, it is connected now over the local LAN port with the G7500. Really, really nice. But again, it's only one E70 today. You gotta be in the poly mode or the zoom mode. And as I said, probably more video providers will follow, but that's today supported with those devices. So you're able to test it out and play with it in your own environment. Alright, so that was concerning the E70 connected over IP. Again, if you're looking for more information, I would say just check out the release notes, documentation, etc. But this is just hopefully getting you started quickly. The next thing, which is also a really interesting one for the enterprise market, is SCEP is now available on the StudioX. So only on the StudioX X today, as you see here on the codec only, not available yet on the TC8 or TC10. So there you need to manually load certificates. And this is a very interesting one. So because this way you're able to manage, renew certificates automatically using a SCEP server. So that is a server which is managing all the certificates. If you got hundreds of those StudioXs, it makes life a lot easier, because today you gotta just do that manually, load them to the devices, etc. And this takes all that certificate management away. Now let me show you that where you can find it just quickly. So here we are in the StudioX web UI. So where can you find the SCEP option? So you need to go all the way down, go to certificates under security. There you have the option enable SCEP. So if you enable that, you get a new option, view and update. So you click on that, and here you're able to fill in all the details needed to your SCEP environment, as you see right here. Same thing from PolyLens. So if you go to PolyLens and find your StudioX, click on that, go here to settings, we go here also to the security, and here you see the option SCEP. Exactly the same. So you can enable SCEP, put in all the details, and so you're able to enable that similar as we had with the StudioX web UI. So that's all about SCEP. To show you where to find it in StudioX. Of course, there's a lot of more information available about SCEP, because it's available from Cisco side, available from the Microsoft side. Yeah, I would just recommend get on the internet to find more details on SCEP. Very interesting one, centralized management certificates, and it gives a lot of flexibility in your environment and to bring security to a higher level. Let's get to the next one. So with the 4.1, there's also some new options available on the G7500. You can select now your line out. So do you want to use, for example, the speakers? That is by default. Do you want to use line out on the 3.5mm, or do you want to use both? So you can select that now. But as usual, just let me show you where you can find this option. Here we are in the web UI of the G7500. So where can you find those output settings? Where you go to audio, video, you go to audio. And what you will see is here the line out all the way below. Audio output is default set to TV speakers. Here you go. And you can set it to line out, which means the 3.5mm port only, or you can set it to both, which means line out and the TV speakers, the HDMI, which are connected to the TV using HDMI, and will give audio output. Now, there is an additional option, but that only comes available when you pair it up, for example, with a trio. So if I go now to General Settings, Device Management, and then we go all the way down, I should have a trio here on my network. Oh yeah, or just a regular mic, but I'm pairing it up here with the trio. Let's pair it up. Alright, so you go back to the audio. As soon as the trio is paired, you go all the way down. And now you will see a new option, phone speakers. And it could be you need to enable it first if you haven't done that already, like trio, using that as speakers. That is an option under the audio setting. So then you will have 3 options or 4 options available. So only trio, TV speakers using HDMI, line out, 3.5mm, or using them both. So I think really flexible for G7500 to fit that in most AV environments. Just to give you a quick overview of the audio output specifically for the G7500 and where you can find those in the web UI. Next exciting feature, scheduled auto restart. Available now on StudioX and G7500. So this was already available. Think of an MTR Windows. And a lot of people don't even know, but that also restarts every night. We have now a similar feature in the StudioX. It's in the codec only, so not TC8, not TC10. But if you use it, for example, in the Teams mode or in the Zoom mode, the application running on the TC8, TC10 will automatically restart. So at least the application restarts, not the device yet. So that will probably happen in the next releases. And this is just to give that most optimized experience in those meeting rooms. But let me show you where you can find it in the web UI and in PolyLens. So here we are in the web UI of the G7500. So let me show you where you can find that scheduled restart. You go here to General Settings, we go to System Settings, you go all the way down, and there you will find the scheduled auto restart. So here you can enable it. So you can do that weekly, which I think should be sufficient. So let me set it, for example, to Sunday. Set it to the evening at maybe at 10 o'clock in the evening. All right, save it. So now we have every Sunday in the morning, or you can set it in the evening, and to restart your device. So on Monday, you got a fresh device ready to use for your users. Now, same thing is available in PolyLens. So let me also show you it there. So we go here, go to G7500, we go to System Settings, we go here to General Settings, and then under System Settings, you will be able to find enabled scheduled auto restart. So here you can enable it and set it, for example, to weekly at Sunday, specific time, save it, set it to a specific group or to a specific site. And if you do that, you can use it during the week as optimized as possible. Let's go to the next exciting feature, and that is the sound reflection reduction. A lot of words, but what is happening? So looking at those meeting rooms with a lot of glass, hard floors, etc. Usually it could be a challenge when you come in there with a StudioX device to get that clear audio. Now what have been done is built into the devices X30, X50, X52, X70 and G7500. You will have now in the DSP the sound reflection reduction feature. If you enable that, it will take a lot of those echoes away in the room. If you have already an optimized room, don't use this feature. But if you have issues with the audio, mic pickup is not working correctly, I recommend to test out this feature in your meeting room. Now, if you're using an extension mic, that is all working together because you're using the DSP inside the codec. But if you're using, for example, a Trio, then you don't have the feature because it will bring the DSP functionality to the Trio, and then you're not able to use the sound reflection reduction. Similar if you connect up a Biamp or Shure or QSC, those are external DSPs, and that means you disable the DSP inside the StudioX and G7500. So just to be aware of that. Now, let me show you where you can find this functionality in the web UI and in PolyLens. So here we are in the web UI of the StudioX. Where can you find that sound reflection reduction? So you go here to audio video, you go to audio, and here you will find, well, in the past you only had that noise block AI. So now you have a new feature, sound reflection reduction, which you can enable. It already includes the noise block AI. So if you set this to sound reflection reduction and somebody is clapping in the room or makes other noise, coffee machines, it will block also out that sound. So just to be aware of that. It's not that you choose here between noise block AI and sound reflection reduction. And I would recommend to only use it if you got echoes or challenging audio conference room. Same is available in Lens. So let me go there. PolyLens. We go here to my Studio X30. Let me go here also same to my audio settings. We go here to audio. All right, and here you will find disabled noise block AI or the sound reflection reduction. So you can do this on a specific group. And if you got some challenging rooms, you can put them together in a group, and there you can enable the sound reflection reduction. But yeah, I would recommend to just test it out first and see how this experiences in your meeting room. The next one is a preview feature. So it's still being tested, still waiting for feedback from customers, etc. That's Director AI Perimeter. Also, I think a really exciting one, and you can see that AI is really taking off with a lot of those features on the StudioX. So, as I said, it's a preview feature, so you need to provide feedback. If you got feedback, go to your Poly lens, and on the side you will find a feedback button, and there you can click and provide us feedback of your experiences. And so we're looking now to get feedback on this functionality. What is happening with this feature? Because that is a big question. Well, think of all those meeting rooms with a lot of glass. And we know that if people walk by, and for example, you set it to group track, what it will do, it will zoom out because it sees the faces outside those walls, and you get a really distracting experience. Because first it's focusing on the people in the room, then somebody's passing by or standing there with a coffee, and then suddenly it zooms out because it thinks that those people are part of the meeting room. But now you can set like hard lines in meters or in feet, and you can adjust that to your own needs and make sure you get a border here in the meeting room where it doesn't track outside the glass. I think a really exciting one. So you got a couple of parameters as you see right here, but I will show this also in the StudioX web UI where you can find it. So here you set your unit, feet or meters. You set here the number A, so that is the depth of the room. You set the width of the room, so set it within the class, of course, and then the front to the table. So here you got really the option to set it, so how far is the table from the screen, from the camera, to also have an avoidance. So here you can really set that tracking and set a specific area. I think it is a really nice one, similar as with that noise block reduction. Director eye perimeter is also, I think, a great feature, and the route that the features are going into with those products, I think is really nice. But as usual, let me show you this in the web UI. Where can you find it? So here we are in the StudioX web UI. So where can you find the director perimeter AI? You need to go to video and video inputs. Then we need to go all the way down. And here you will find the preview feature, enable director AI parameters. All right, here you go. So you can set it to feet or to meters. Just look at here the measurements of the room, fill them out here, and just try it out. As I said, it's a preview feature, so it could be you need to go a little bit less or a little bit wider, but just try it out. And please provide us feedback using that feedback button in Poly Lens to optimize this feature as much as possible. Same thing, if you go into Poly Lens, where can you find it? So same thing, you go here to video inputs, and then you see here the option Poly Perimeter. And here it nicely says also that it is a preview feature. By default disabled. Here you can enable it, turn it to feet or to meters, put in all the numbers. You're ready to go. Just try it out. So you can even do this centrally or put a specific group again with a couple of rooms you want to try out. And probably this will be a per room setting as you got different rooms, different sizes, unless these are all the same size. But otherwise, you can play with specific settings on the device itself. So also available in Poly Lens. Let's get to the next one. X30 second camera support. So with 4.1 we got the ability now to support a couple of additional cameras on the X30, and specifically for the telehealth, but I think a really nice one. I haven't seen this a lot here in Europe, but I think in other regions this could be a very interesting one. There are some cameras that are tested, as you see right here. These are also in the release notes if you need to find them, and you can just hook them up to the USB port of the X30 and you're able to use it. Now be aware, this is something available in Poly and in Zoom today, being supported. It could work with other platforms, but it's not like as officially supported yet. So just be aware of that. Next exciting feature is the speaker framing enhancements. So there are some updates in the speaker framing to make it less distractive, just going with the cameras from one person to another. So let me walk them through in some examples here. So first off, you have here a meeting room. So we have now one person talking, but we are with multiple participants in the room and they're sitting very close to each other. Now in the past, the camera would directly only go to this active speaker. Now what's happening with this release, it will zoom out and have the other participants also visible in its tracking. Unless the person is there alone, of course, then it will zoom in only to this person. But if there are multiple persons sitting close, we're taking those other persons also in the picture. And if one of them are talking, the camera will stay as it is, just to get less camera movements and reframing, and is less distracting for the end user, of course. So this is happening with this enhancement. Now, also, if nobody is talking, or we mute the room, or far end is continuously talking, we zoom out and make sure that the whole group is visible. I think this was similar as we already had, but just good to know that there are some rules out there. And it's not every rule which I'm showing here, but just some of the rules, and just to be aware that the speaker framing has been enhanced. Now let's say one person is talking here on that side, then that person will only be visible. And so I think that is just very good to know that that is now an enhancement in the 4.1 release. First off, MTR on Android. What is happening there with the 4.1 release? Well, I think a really exciting one is that we got certified from Microsoft Teams the TC10, which is available now as a controller, not as a scheduler yet, but at least as a controller. That is default shipped with X52, so that controller is coming along. If you order G7500 or StudioX 70, you can also get that in the same kit. That is also available as a single SKU now, so that is really, really nice. TC10. With the 4.1, we will have APK update, and usually I just show the last pieces, the 2301. That is also the version available from Teams Admin Center. Now, anyhow, it could always be that while we have this APK installed with the 4.1, that Microsoft is already coming with newer updates, but you're always able to push them out using Teams Admin Center, specifically if there are specific hotfixes or an additional security hotfixes or anything as an emergency, then Microsoft will also have them available in Teams Admin Center, which is today update 2. Make sure, and I know that there's still a lot of people who forget that you upgrade your Teams room on Android and upgrade under touch consoles. You will find the TC8 and TC10, and that you upgrade both of them to the latest application. This is, I think, really, really important. Now, what was available with the update 2? I already did an extensive video on this, so I will put a link right there so you're able to find it. There was, of course, some maintenance in there. You got some smart camera controls where you can control the camera on devices. Content camera available, and don't forget that these need pro licenses. This is also something which happened, and so just look at also at the interface. You will everywhere what needs a pro license. They made it well visible. Camera switching is available now in MTR on Android, and we have default layout control, so you can set every room to the same layout. So as I said, if you want to have a more deep dive on this, please just look at that other video, because otherwise my PolyOS 4.1 video will require a lot of coffees, and we don't want it. I try to keep the video as optimal as possible. One thing, one of the tips and tricks is we had to one of the versions we had to change the audio gain of the X30 X50. This was one of the messages which were available on the Microsoft website, and there was some issues with the DSP, so the audio gain changed, and we had to change that in the web UI. Now this is fixed in 4.1. Don't change it. If you haven't done anything here, just leave it as it is. So it will automatically be fixed in the 4.1 release. If you change this, so there was the fix to change it to 14 to 18, depending on the meeting room. So if you have changed it, just leave it as it is, and it will automatically be reset after you install the 4.1. So you don't have to touch it. Probably this will be removed as one of the known issues on the Microsoft website, but just something which I wanted to mention to make sure that that this is officially fixed now. 4.02. So if that is your baseline and you got StudioX running in Teams mode, then you're ready to go. You can upgrade WAP to 4.1. You're running here in the Teams mode. Also, you can check if you're using the correct company portal, and that is ending with 505484. That needs to be your company portal to use it as optimal as possible. Because I know that some customers tested earlier versions with 4.1 and these are on other company portal versions. So the next one is an important one. If you have received the X52, if you've bought it or if you used a test device, etc., and you use that device in the Poly mode or in the Zoom mode, you're also safe. You can upgrade to 4.1 and use it also in Teams. Again, check if that company portal is this number. That is really, really important. But that is if you've used the X52, so you got it new in the box, might have been with an earlier release of the 4.1, which was the initial 4.1 release. So if that is shipped, check it out. And there could be even a QR code on the box with the X52, so you're able to, it will also bring you to those tips and tricks. But I just wanted to reach out to the community to make sure that you can use your devices as optimal as possible. Now, this is where it becomes interesting. If you've received an X52 and you used it in Teams mode, here it becomes very interesting. Then you're not sure which version could be on your company portal. You need to check it. If it's not that version, which I'm mentioning earlier, you need to go back. And that means a factory reset. You need to bring back the company portal to an earlier version to make sure that when you are on 4.1, you get the right company version downloaded from the Microsoft site. So this is only the scenario if you received an X52, you're using one of the initial builds of 4.1, you used it in the Teams mode, and then you upgrade it to that latest 4.1, so you are on that latest one, you don't see the build that I've mentioning earlier, then the next step is to reset your device. Use the reset all settings button or use the pinhole reset. This will bring back the company port, etc. to the earlier build, and then you are on the right build which is compatible with all the applications, etc. I just wanted to mention that very quickly to just make sure again you can use your devices as optimal as possible. The same thing for your TC8 and TC10. Reset them. You can find that in the interface of the TC8 and TC10 or you can do it in the back with the pinhole, and this will also roll back the company portal and the Teams applications to the earlier version, just to make sure that everything is running as optimal as possible. Again, if you got any questions or comments, just leave them underneath. This is just to give you some quick hands-on for this specific scenario. And if you do a factory reset, write down the serial number because you need those last 6 digits because the device will be factory default. You need to log into Teams. You need to log into the interface again. So if you are using PolyLens and you're lucky you got that auto provisioning, that most of the settings then will be pushed out to your device. But otherwise, if you don't have that, you need to write down serial number because the last 6 digits will be your login to the web UI, so you can configure all your specific settings. Let's first take a cup of coffee before we're heading to the next application, Zoom. Also a lot of exciting things happening on that area, and I will run them all through here. So with the 4.1 release, we will bring the 15 application that is coming along, same as with Teams that is coming along on the StudioX. Again, you can go to Zoom Device Management and you can push out all newer versions. Most probably Zoom has also got a newer version available there. No problem. You can always upgrade your StudioX. Don't forget not only StudioX but also your TC8 and TC10, because these also run the applications similar as with Teams, and you can always push it out. So just be aware of that. Now, what is new? We already seen in the previous video we have that multicam available. So you can use multiple cameras now in the room at the same time. So this is also available or soon available on the X52. That means you can use multiple cameras. One room view, one speaker view, one camera here also at the room from a different angle. So you can use all those different cameras at the same time in the meeting, available at 720p. So X50, X52, X70 and on the G7500. Same with the Smart Gallery, also up to 720p. And not only X30, X50, but now or soon also available on the X52 and on the G7500. So Smart Gallery means you will have every participant in a camera view and the camera will automatically pick out the participants in the room. Okay, what is more available? We got the directional audio. That is with single screen only, so we already had that with the X50 and X70, and should also become available or soon available with the X52. Room capacity notification. This was already available and it shows you the number of participants in the room on the touch panel or on the scheduling panel on the outside. Really some nice features. What is new? Just some highlights. Because we got, for example, Intelligent Director. This is specifically for the Zoom room on Windows, so that's very important. So you can connect up to 3 E70s, for example, and it will use those multiple cameras to pick out the participants in the room. A really nice one. And so it captures just all the people there and gives an intelligent view to the remote participants. It's still in public beta, so that means that any customer can test it and play around with it. And it should be available soon as a GA feature. One which I saw at the customer, which I think is a really nice one, is you have now in the latest release screensaver dimmed with the TC8, TC10 dimmed. So as soon as the timer goes off, and you can set this in the Zoom Room admin portal, what you will see is in the screensaver mode, it will dim the TC8 and TC10. So usually when it was in that white, that white layout, it would just shine light. Even in the evening, it would shine light in the meeting rooms. Not as optimal. So what is happening now, if you're using the white in the white layout, what you will see is when it goes in the screensaver mode, it will automatically dim that screen. All right, and that's it concerning Zoom. I would say just check release notes and I will put a reference under the video in the description. There's a lot of great stuff happening on that side. The next one is Google Meet. Yes, so I already presented this. This was started with the 4.0 release very easily. So you could now find it as a provider natively Google Meet. A really nice one. You just punch in the code as you saw right here. You just go to the Google admin portal. You just use that activation code and you can start using this system. I did some videos on that earlier, so I can put a link right there so you're able to find that quickly, and they are also just enhancing all the time. So what is available now? We have X30 for your small rooms, we have the X50 or X52 for your medium-sized rooms, we have the large rooms, which is for your for the X70, what was happening in the latest release, we now have dual screen support. Absolutely. So besides the X52, which is working now on the Google Meet, we have dual screen support. So you can use the content on one screen, participants on the other screen. And I know this was really one where a lot of customers were waiting for, because those medium size and large size room usually have dual screen available. So that is available now with the latest Google app. It's just a matter of you sign it to the Google app, sign it to the Google admin portal, and then the applications on StudioX will automatically be updated to that latest version. Now, what is supported looking at touch panel? So we got TC8 and TC10 supported on the Google Meet side. And of course, the device mode is also available. So as soon as you use that USB cable, put it in the laptop, it will automatically jump into the device mode and you're able to use reuse camera, speaker, and mic in the bar with your laptop and use any other video platform that you need to. And finally, a list of all the applications which are coming along with the 4.1 release as we've released it. As I mentioned earlier, it could be during time that already, for example, Microsoft or Zoom has already new releases available. You can always push them out to StudioX and to the TC8 or TC10 to make sure you use the latest and greatest versions. We will probably embed any newer versions with those applications, and we will keep, if the version is already newer on the device, of course we will keep that version on the device. So we don't have any interference between like Poly and you're installing the PolyOS updates and the application running on the device. And these can work separately from each other. So I think this is and makes the platform very powerful and easy to manage. Now, looking at Teams, as you can see right here, if you don't run any of these versions, for example, your company portal is different, upgrade first the latest version. If you then still see the company portal used here, make sure you do otherwise a factory reset. This will bring it back, and then you can upgrade to that latest versions and make sure you are compatible with all those versions and that everything is working good with each other. Same for Zoom, and most of those applications have maintenance updates. You can find more information on the different websites of those video providers. Yeah, and again, always mention the release notes. Check out release notes. These are giving a lot of details about the features, which I showed in this video, where you can find them in the web UI or PolyLens. Supported products, supported applications on which devices. Also external audio DSPs on which devices it is supported. Barcode click share. I will probably do one of my new videos also in Barcode in combination with StudioX that works nicely together. Like digital signage products like AppSpace and Radiant on which devices that is supported. Really nice. It gives you an overview, and this is also a reference if something is not working as expected. You can always get to the support and ask them if something is wrong configured or why the behavior is not as it is. And that's it. This is the 4.1 release. I know I tried to keep it within 2 or 3 coffees, but yeah, as I said, I will provide you with the different chapters. So if in the future you need to run through those different specific features and you want to know where to find them, you can always quickly jump through it. Hopefully you enjoyed it. At least I enjoyed it to run it all through, and I'm also looking forward to the next features because this is really a step up. You see a lot with the AI going on, and so I think a really exciting time for the StudioX G7500 for MTRoA Windows, the Zoom Room on Windows, Zoom Room on Android. There's a lot of things going on in the market. Now, I would say if you got any questions or comments, just leave them under the video. If you like this type of video, I would just say, subscribe to Jan's coffee channel. As soon as I got some news for you, I will put it in my community, or I will just push out the video as I'm doing now to run through all those updates. And that's it. looking forward to see you in the next video.